Some reflections for today, the 6th Sunday of Easter. Mr. and Mrs. Brown first met Paddington on a railway platform. In fact, that was how he came to have such an unusual name for a bear, for Paddington was the name of the station. So begins Michael Bond's book, A Bear Called Paddington, published in 1958. As we know from the story, Paddington had travelled from Peru and had a label saying, "Please look after this bear. Thank you." The Brown family do just that, and the adventures begin. Up until that moment in Left Luggage, Paddington seems to be abandoned. What a horrendous feeling that is. Suddenly being left alone, no familiar face, completely disconnected from the world around us. In that situation comes the anguish, cry, prayer and plea. Is anyone looking for me? Apparently, according to psychologists, our greatest fear as children is that fear of being abandoned. And for some, as they grow, that fear never goes away. I can remember when I was 8 years old, standing in the boarding school hall with my Harry Potter styled trunk, which I could not lift, and a small overnight case, feeling utterly abandoned. Everyone around me knew what they were doing, and any little appeal I made seemed to be ignored. I've never forgotten that feeling. Feeling that you are abandoned is not nice. We join Jesus today, continuing his talk from last Sunday, when he's telling his friends what awaits them when they enter Jerusalem for the last time. He tells them that whatever happens to him, they will not be abandoned. He knows their fear of just being left, so says, "I will not leave you orphaned." He knows that worst and deepest fear, left alone, without that love that makes them feel secure, gives them an identity and direction in life. So Jesus wants to reassure his friends that they will not be abandoned. They will not just be left. They will always be loved. You will not be orphaned. As we know, there are many in our world who do feel abandoned, orphaned, forgotten, and totally expendable. Apart from those suffering from this horrific virus and those who are putting themselves at risk to care for the sufferers, there are still refugees searching for survival, still victims of war, of famine, those who are still persecuted for their faith or their race. So, is anyone looking out for me? Which is their cry. We ask to make sure that cry, that prayer is heard. We are here to make sure those who feel alone are nourished by the feeling that someone cares. Sometimes it's easier to rush by. I'm not getting involved. And anyway, what good could I possibly do? But the good Lord says that what we are will always be enough. Trust me, he says. So many of us, all of us, carry a label. Please look after us. Thank you. A Roman Catholic priest tells this story. There was a barefooted, big city drifter called George. He had wild hair and tattered trousers and an oversized, food-stained shirt. One Sunday morning, as he ambled past a big, beautiful church in the heart of the city, he decided to go in. The church was full and the sermon was just about to begin. George found no seat and no one tried to make room for him. So having walked all the way to the front, he squatted down on the floor in front of the pulpit. Then the priest noticed the church's elderly head usher making his way down the aisle towards George. Although he walked with the help of a cane, there was a certain dignity and elegance about him. The congregation said to themselves, "You can't blame this elderly model of correctness for going to tell that irreverent, dirty young man that he has no place here." It took a while for the usher to reach the young man. The church was silently breathless, apart from the click of the old man's cane. Then, with great difficulty, he laid down his cane and lowered himself to sit on the floor next to George, guaranteeing that for the rest of the Mass, George would not sit alone. Everyone was choked with emotion. When the priest finally gained his composure, he said, "What I'm about to preach, you may never remember. What you have just seen, you will never forget. I will not leave you orphaned. Keep well, keep safe, and God bless."